Hello everybody, my name is Mikko Ohtamaa. I come from a country called Finland, and I'm here to present you a full stack web framework called Websauna. And this is the, I would call this is the first Websauna presentation ever. So you are going to see all the latest bleeding edge cool stuff what the world can offer you. So be excited. And actually, this is my background. So I used to do Python, I used to do Plone. And this very morning, actually, it was funny because Facebook reminded me that I have been in a Plone conference 9 years ago. And that was the first Plone conference I ever attended. I think it was on Naples. Vienna. Yeah, I haven't been in Vienna, so at least I don't remember. Okay, and then let's go a little bit backwards, like the definition of the problem, or why we need to create web frameworks. Why not everybody is not using Django? And if you don't remember anything else from this presentation, remember this: that I think the Job guys, the Plone guys, and the Pyramid guys are the smartest Python developers out there. Like the things like a traversal and object database and stuff they do, it's very clever, and it makes, if you use it correctly, it makes you very productive. Like the tools you are using able you to do more tasks in the same time than what would happen if you would be using Flask, or let's say even something worse like Java Enterprise, Java Beans, or whatever they are called. So productivity means that the code is easier to maintain, it's more secure, it's easier to extend, and you actually need less lines of code. When you write, you are saving your fingers and your wrists, and maybe as an old person you have functional hands left. But with the pyramid itself, even if like everybody loves it, there's a problem. So like David was putting out in his presentation yesterday, it's a framework of frameworks, or framework for frameworks. It's basically, pyramid is aimed for the guys who know everything already about web development, how to create a session, how to do database migrations, how to create forms. You want to choose your own form library and stuff like that. And if you are just like the poor guy who is not the hardcore web developer, he just wants to make his first application out there, these patterns are not accessible for those, because they want to start with something working. They don't want to go out there and evaluate all three form libraries, like what's the correct one to use from those. And this means that it's not like Brandon was putting in his presentation, it's not very approachability. It's not very simple because you have options to choose. It's not very easy to learn because the information is out there in different places. And also what these guys, they are very technical, so they are not very good in marketing, unlike Django girls. So when you come to this, I don't say it's a crappy, but this not so fancy website, it's a kind of turn off there. And those are the problems we are going to address in this presentation. So this photo is from a Plone event called Sauna Sprint. It happened in Finland 2011. It has nothing to do with the current presentation, but I just put it there so you know what it means to be in sauna. And about Websauna, so we have I have been working on this project since 2015, so it's 2 years old. There are some public sites. The most most good example is something called token market. So if you want to see how Websauna works, you can go to that site and sign up. We have an active community. We have a chat in Gitter, and I know that there are at least 2 other people on this planet who are using the framework. So we have at least 3 users. So we are still a little bit baby. And we have a Twitter, which is misspelled, and we have at least 40 followers. So we are not still like on the same scale as Brandon was putting Django and Flask. So we have a few more users to come that we can reach the same level of popularity. But it doesn't matter, because even if you are not popular, you can still be better. Like millions of flies can be wrong. So thing is that we are solving different problems. Like at the other end of pyramid, it's like it's very small core, and you need to bring everything yourself. Then you slowly move towards Flask and Django, and you can get more tools out from the box, or more batteries included. And in Websauna, I have tried to go even beyond Django, so that the default functionality you get out from the box is enough to run your business in a web. So you will get a default theme, bootstrap based. You will get the login and sign up, so you don't need to start inventing how are you going to log to a website, because that's kind of a boring problem, and so on. And the design goals here have been that it's easy to approach, so it actually works out from the box, and you only add your own business logic, and you don't need to do this boring task like a login. It's very well documented, and it's actually using a Python 3 feature called type hinting. So if you have ever worked with oh, actually, how many of you have been ever used type hinting in Python? Yeah, so it's coming. It's very fancy feature. Yeah. Python 3. Yeah, it's built in Python 3. Python 3.5 actually comes with the, I don't remember the model. I think it was called type hinting. Typing, yeah.
Yeah, but you use the new syntax, not the one that is.
Yeah. And yeah, and Websauna is a new project, so there's no Python 2. There's only Python 3, and everything like a Python 3.5 plus. And it's a simple. So you get the default scaffold, how to create your application. So the files are always in the same place. You get the views.py, you get the models.py, and so on. It's very secure. I used to work in, or I'm still working in finance, so I know how to make sure that the Russians don't get into your website. And also, there's no. This is also a huge disadvantage for Pyramid, because it doesn't have enough standard core functionality. So building a package like admin or sign up on the top of Pyramid is not good, because your Pyramid users, they bring different template engines, they bring different session backends, and so on. And if you try to build a plugin on the top of Pyramid, it doesn't work, because there's no, like, the underlying components are not there yet, and you need to write the tons of adapters to make it work. And it's like a tons of extra work for basically nothing. And also, one way to describe Websauna is that it's like Django, but it doesn't have too much of the bad sides of the Django in it. I was a Django developer since 0.96, or basically the first release. I worked for Django sites for 12 years, so I know what's good and what's bad there. And I want to not repeat the mistakes of the history again, but actually create something better, like what we have learned since 2005, and what better tools we have in our toolbox today. So this is basically what the Websauna will offer you. It's a pyramid routing, SQL Alchemy models. It has Jinja2 templates, PyTest testing, celery tasks, some job there with the components and interfaces. You have a default deployment playbook with Ansible, and it even has an integration for IPython notebooks. So you don't need to open your terminal for the Python shell, but you can do it straight from the browser. And what Websauna adds on the top of that is that the integration. So we have a package layout, we have documentation, we get the sign up, we get the social authentication with Facebook and Twitter and so on. And very important factors the Brandon was highlighting today is that you get an admin interface straight out from the box. So if you create an SQL Alchemy model, you get the web interface where you can go add and create and delete those objects. And other way to see what Websauna is doing. So this is basically the run function, which sets up the framework, and it's a split up to methods in a subclass. So if you want to change something in Websauna, like you want to change the template engine, you can just go there. There's a function called configure templates. You can override with your own version and bring in your own template engine. Or if you want to use a different email backend, there's a function called configure mailer, which you can override, and you can add your own mailing package instead of the default that's pyramid mailer, and so on. And in Websauna core, you get the functionality that pyramid has, but when you start the project, it's not there, like a default views like not found and so on. You get the sessions, so you can track your users. You can do actually something useful. You get some view configuration, and you get the template engine set up out from the box with some useful filters and variables you can use in your templates. Like especially if you deal with the date times, you can actually format them with the different time zones and stuff like that. Then you get the admin interface, which is unlike in Django, it's based on traversal, so you can actually have multiple levels of paths there. So you can have a tree. You have an organization, and under organization you have customers, and under customers you have orders. So you can have this kind of flexible patterns there that the Django can't do because all the URLs are hard-coded there. Then you get the sign up and social login forms out from the box, and there's a new pattern I'm very happy about. Is called a passwordless login. So basically you are using your email address as an ID, and every time you want to log in, you just send a new link to your email address. And this does make sense because all the websites have a forgot password functionality in any case, and people are not writing down their password, so they keep hitting that link every time they want to sign into the website. So it makes sense to, oh crap. It makes sense to just make the session last forever and not give them the passwords in the first place. And that's how, if your website gets hacked, you don't leak any passwords because you don't have them. Yeah. There we go. It also comes with the theming. So it comes with the basic site layout, and it has a Bootstrap 3 theme. So what you can do when you install Websauna, after that you can go to wrapbootstrap.com and buy a theme for your website for $10. So you don't need to hire a designer, which I'm happy as an engineer. And because it's Bootstrap, it's not like the best of out there, but for most of the customers, it's good enough. So you save the cost of having your own designer doing the all stuff. Or if you have a designer, they can focus on doing actual productivity stuff like logos and stuff like that, and they don't need to worry about how to style a button. Then you get the forms, which are based on Colander and the deform packages. You get this CRUD functionality, so you have a base class that does add, edit, delete, and list your SQL Alchemy models in your database. You also get some security features, cross-site request forging protection. It's actually built in Pyramid 1.7 now. And you get the throttling. So if somebody tries to brute force your login form with the different usernames and passwords, it will just, after like 60 attempts, it will block the guy. So, and that's very important, like in a modern internet environment where you have a lot of these botnets going around, and they will just try to hack any website out there. They don't care if you are a high value target or not. They just come to and push everything through your login form. You get tasking. So you can actually have this kind of cron style tasks in Python that do something every day. Or what's very important for a scalable website, you get the delayed tasks. So that when you are processing a request, you can say, send an email to this user, but do it after the request is complete, and don't block third-party API call or don't block third-party SMTP until the request is complete. So you have a very low response times, and everything happens background on the tasks. You get an email, and it actually comes with the default HTML email template. So you don't anymore send these crappy looking emails to your customers, but they come with the like a default logo and footer and so on. And you don't need to also what's actually HTML email is not very simple, because most of the HTML features don't work in email. So it comes with the default base template where you are only using that subset of HTML features which we know that will work with Outlook and Yahoo and so on. You get the static media. So the Websauna builds CDN friendly URLs, so that if you update your CSS file, it will change it in the user browser, and you never have a problem that you have your template and your CSS file would be out of the sync, so that you're using an old CSS file on your customer browser. And you get the security. So basically, I mentioned my favorite thing nowadays is this passwordless thing. There's a SQL Alchemy, so you don't get any SQL injections. It has cross-site scripting protection in the templates. Also, it's using SQL transaction isolation level to it's by the default it sets it's to the maximum value. So it's the same as in SODP, that if you try to write to the same row at the same time, one of the transactions rolls back, one completes, and then it will just retry the HTTP request again. That's exactly what Plone is doing, and why it's so freaking awesome. It comes with the ini-based configuration files, and because those files are not very flexible, there's a little layer on the top of that allows you to use includes. So you can have one base configuration file for your site, and then you can have different layers on the top of that, like development, production, testing, and so on. And there's also separate file for secrets, which is basically API keys. And there's framework support for that you never commit your API keys to your repository, but you handle those out of the law. And here you can see actually type hinting in the action. So most of the core is type hinted, so it's very easy to read. You know what goes in and what comes out. There's a Sphinx documentation, and also on the top of that there's some custom tools to make documentation for every template you write, for every template variable you use in those templates, and all the Jinja filters you also use in those templates. So you have a complete reference of all the stuff you can do with the Websauna. and it comes with the default Ansible deployment playbook, which means that if you have a Websauna app, you have committed it to a Git repository, you can just take this Ansible command or playbook, tell that, hey, here is my new Linux server, install my app on that, and the playbook will do everything for you. So it's basically a single line command and telling, hey, deploy my Websauna/pyramid application on this server. So it will go to the server, it will install Postgres, Redis, Nginx, and stuff like that. It will run your migrations if you have SQL migrations, and it will set up your email and everything. So it's very, very friendly, because development is only half of the story. The other half is like the DevOps, like how to run servers. And even if you learn, if you're a newcomer to Python and you learn how to write your first view, and then somebody comes to, you want to make it to internet, and then somebody comes to and says you in IRC, hey, yeah, it's simple, just install Nginx, here is the link, and you go to Nginx website and you're like, oh my god. So we will just give you this one command. It's like a Heroku, but without Heroku, and it works with every server out there, DigitalOcean and so on, that hey, if you have Websauna app, just go and buy a server and it will run there, and it's safe. And that's pretty much about it. So check the website, and what I would appreciate is that even if you don't intend to use Websauna, come to hang around in the chat, because I like when there's a long list of people in the chat, even if they are not very active, because it means that the community does care, and maybe in the future they will convert to Websauna users. And if you have any questions, I think I have a little bit time left. Yes. Okay. So let's do so that the Nate will ask one question and then somebody else asks a second one. So
First, I'd just like to say that Websauna support for one project, so we steal code from Websauna, rewrite it to 7 and use it in our reference code. I want to know how throttling is implemented. Do you block at the application level?
yes, it's on the application level. It uses something called rolling time window on the top of Redis, which is something I didn't come up with myself, but I made it a little bit better, so that every time you hit the view, it marks it in a Redis that okay, we get a hit here and here and here, and it has a backlog of, let's say, 60 entries, and when you exceed that during 1 hour, it says that okay, this guy is hitting it this too much, and then it will send the HTTP, the new HTTP code saying that you too many requests or something like that. 3 ways what you can do. One is global on the system level, which I recommend because of these bad guys. I know that they have tens of thousands of IP addresses, and with the IP6, you have, I don't know even how do you say this number in English, but it's a huge number with a lot of bits. So yeah, buttload, yeah. And you can't basically anymore block anybody by IP address in this on today. That's the thing. Then you can, of course, you can do one is by username. So if some user tries to request money like 1,000 times per hour, you know that it's probably not real. And there are a couple of other tricks you can do, but it's flexible, so you can add it in your own logic. Yeah. Excuse me? Ansible what? Yeah. Yes, it's actually using default playbook is using it. But the thing is that you still need to do secrets outside Ansible. Like on your own laptop, because you are not going to run Ansible on your laptop to run it on your P server. So you need to have some kind of tool for that. I don't have a good solution, but I know a person who is willing to work with that if we give him enough money. Yes.
Wrapper you have on top of any files, can that be pushed into pyramid?
I think the first comment on that wrapper is that this is a temporary, never use this. So I think who is currently is it Michael maintaining Pyramid? Yeah. He wouldn't like it.
I was surprised to find this out.
I can.
Horrible, but it's
Yeah, I know. I tried that first, and it was horrible. So I made something little less horrible, but still kind of scary. You don't want to show it to your kids. So for the configuration files, my plan is that after some sponsorship and funding and stuff like that, move everything to a YAML with built-in extension and inclusion mechanism, and make it also like a standalone, so that other Python projects can use it, like SQL Alchemy. What else we have? Ansible itself, but well, Ansible, they are different play, but you know, like you can use it standalone and not just with your web server. Yes, it's Alembic. Yes and no. The CRUD base classes are flexible. So you have a CRUD, and below CRUD you have a SQL Alchemy CRUD. And I have made one site which was using only Redis. But it's still something you are probably going to write some parts yourself, because I haven't been using that many of other databases myself. Yeah. 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 Yeah, it's abstract in a sense that it's there, but it doesn't. It has only one implementation at the moment. Yes. No. Oh, yes, yes and no. It comes with the default Bootstrap HTML files, but we have one project with some former Berlin-based Plone developers, where they were developing a client side on React. So I know that Websauna and React work well together. Yeah, and I think in the long run, I'm going to move the whole admin to a React or something else, because it makes sense when you have when you have a lot of data. So you need to like have all kind of this cool stuff we saw in Lawrence's presentation going around. Yeah. Yes and no. Basically, you are looking at the present an SQL Alchemy model in JSON, which is the most common problem. And Websauna itself doesn't do it, but there are a couple of other libraries out there which do it for you. And they are integrated on the pyramid level. So whatever works for pyramid, you can use with the Websauna. So it doesn't take an opinion of that, but there are solutions for that. Okay, anything else? Thank you for a lot of questions. I think it was more than I have ever had, so it's good to hear that people are. Oh, and there's one more thing I would like to say. I would like to thank Mr. Tarek Alam. He was the first Websauna user, and I forced him to go to us through the tutorial. And he is not very versed in pyramid and stuff because he has Plone background, but he found a lot of pain points and he suffered for you so that you will have a better life.